Your inflammation test came back normal, clean bill of health. Except, here's the thing. For a lot of people, that result is completely meaningless, and the reasons why are way stranger than you'd expect. Most people have been told the same thing. Get your CRP checked, see if it's high, and now you know whether you have inflammation. That advice sounds solid. Doctors order it, health influencers recommend it, and it shows up in every basic blood work panel. But the science underneath that advice has some serious cracks in it. And the further researchers dig, the more those cracks keep widening. I've been going through the research on this, and there are a handful of things about CRP testing that almost nobody is talking about. By the end of this, you're going to look at that little number on your lab report very differently. And the last one, the last thing I'm going to show you, is the one that genuinely surprised me the most. Let's start with something that sounds impossible. Imagine you have a raging autoimmune disease. Your body is on fire. Your immune system is attacking your own tissue, and your CRP comes back perfectly normal. That's not a hypothetical. That's what happens with lupus, and researchers have only recently figured out why. High CRP in lupus is not usually a sign of disease activity, even though interleukin-6, the most important CRP stimulator, is actually elevated in active lupus. So the hormone that's supposed to trigger CRP production is sky high, and yet CRP doesn't budge. How? In combination with interferon alpha, IL-6 causes the IL-6 receptor to be enzymatically cleaved from the cell membrane. The soluble receptors that result act as an IL-6 buffer, inhibiting IL-6's biological activity in the blood. And because this prevents IL-6 from reaching and stimulating liver cells, no CRP gets produced there. The body is essentially running interference on its own alarm system. The fire is real. The alarm just never goes off. That alone should make you question how much you can trust a single CRP reading. But here's where it gets even more interesting, because it's not just disease that can silence the alarm. Some people are born that way. One of the gene variants showing the most consistent association with CRP levels is the CRP gene hs-1205 variant. Research has demonstrated that carrying the minor allele of this polymorphism is associated with lower CRP levels. Not because those people have less inflammation, but because their genes are permanently dialed down on CRP output. The rs1205TT genotype in the CRP gene is associated with lower CRP, and this demonstrates that genetic factors, irrespective of an individual patient's actual disease activity, can cause differences in CRP that impact disease activity assessment. One analysis even noted that carrying certain versions of this variant can lower CRP by roughly 20%, with no change in actual heart disease risk. You could have real inflammation happening, and your genes are just quietly keeping the number low. Your doctor looks at the result and says, "You're fine." You're not fine. Now hold on to that thought, because there's still one more layer to this that I haven't gotten to yet. The biggest one. Keep that in mind. Here's something that matters right now if you're on any kind of medication. The CRP test tells you whether significant inflammation is present in your body, but it won't pinpoint where the inflammation is or what's causing it. It gives your provider a signal that something needs a closer look. That's the intended function. But statins, NSAIDs, and corticosteroids don't just treat inflammation, they can suppress the CRP reading itself. So if you're on any of those drugs and your CRP comes back low, that result might not be telling you that you're healthy. It might just be telling you that your medication is working on the number. A clean result could just be a medicated one, and most people never think to ask which one it is. Be honest with yourself here. When was the last time you told your doctor every supplement and medication you were taking before getting blood work done? Most people don't, and most doctors don't ask specifically about this. So the result goes into the chart and everyone moves on. There's also a timing problem that almost nobody talks about. CRP rises when the body responds to infection, injury, or an autoimmune flare, and it can climb within 4 to 6 hours of a trigger and drop back toward normal within days once the cause resolves. Which means a hard gym session, a recent cold, even just being in a stressful week, all of that can push your number up. And on the flip side, if you happened to get tested on a calm week, your number might look great, even if your baseline is actually elevated. Research on repeated CRP testing in the same individuals found only moderate reproducibility, meaning a single blood draw can bounce around meaningfully even with zero change in your actual health. One snapshot in time is just that, a snapshot. And here's something that will change how you think about the test itself. CRP is a canonical pattern recognition molecule of the pentraxin family and a widely employed inflammatory biomarker. But its expression patterns, cellular origins, and disease-specific roles across autoimmune conditions have not been comprehensively assessed. Standard CRP tests don't distinguish between the two structural forms of the molecule: the 5-part ring form, which behaves in a mostly protective way, and the broken-apart monomeric form, which behaves in a mostly pro-inflammatory way. So, your CRP is high can quietly mean two completely different biological stories depending on which form is dominant in your blood. The test treats them as the same thing. They're not. Okay. Now for the one I promised you at the start. Some lupus patients don't just have a suppressed CRP. Some of them are making antibodies against their own CRP. Their immune system is actively neutralizing the very molecule their doctor is using to measure their immune system. Circulating autoantibodies against CRP have been proposed as one explanation for why CRP stays artificially low in lupus despite high disease activity. And the levels of those antibodies actually track with how active the disease is. Think about what that means. The sicker someone gets, the more their body destroys the marker that's supposed to show they're sick. The test becomes most unreliable exactly when accuracy matters most. So, here's where we actually land. CRP was designed as a blunt, non-specific alarm. It shows that inflammation is present, but it can't tell you where or why. That was always the point. The problem is that modern genetics and autoimmune research keep discovering that the alarm itself can be muted by your genes, silenced by your medications, dodged entirely by your immune system, or split into two different forms that the test can't tell apart. The "just get your CRP checked" advice that gets repeated everywhere treats this as a simple, reliable number. It's not. It's a starting point at best, and for some people, it's actively misleading. That doesn't mean the test is useless. It means a single result, read in isolation, without context about your genetics, your medications, your recent activity, and your specific condition, tells you a lot less than most people think. The smarter move is to track it over time, pair it with other markers, and actually talk through the context with someone who knows your full picture. If this changed how you think about your blood work, drop a comment below. I'm genuinely curious how many of you have gotten a normal CRP and still felt like something was off. That conversation is worth having. And if you're interested in more evidence-based videos on longevity, inflammation, and healthy aging, there's another video on your screen right now that I think you'll enjoy. Click it, and I'll see you there.